Hey guys, it's Billy again, back at it with another instructional. Today we're going to be covering a bit more into DeFi, a little bit more in depth about shorting a token, longing a token. I'm going to take you through the Agave protocol, how to deposit some ETH, how to pull out some DAI or USDC, and explain everything that goes with it, the pros, the cons, and things like that. So just a quick overview. Again, we're going to do some borrowing and lending, why even lend or borrow, how to short a token, like what's the logic behind it, how to long a token, same logic, other things you can do with your borrowed tokens. You can stake, liquidity farming, we'll cover that real quick. And then primarily the bread and butter is we're going to use the Agave platform to do all this. We're going to deposit the ETH, borrow some money, trade that for Agave, and then we're going to stake it. And then we'll also cover some liquidations, dangers, my practices that I do to avoid such things. So just right off the top, I want to let you know, again, not financial advice, all that, listening to some random guy on the internet. But we're going to be using MetaMask as the primary wallet, and this is the xDai network. So I'm going to be using the xDai ecosystem, mostly OneHive stuff. I like them. They're cool. All right, so first steps first is why even lend or borrow. We're going to cover a couple texts on there. Number one reason most people sell because they need the money. Let's just say, for example, ETH is $3,000. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind here. Your car breaks down and the bill's $1,000 or whatever. But you feel like ETH is still going to go up a lot more, but you really need that money. So it's going to go to $5,000 soon, and you just want to hold. But let's say you have to sell that ETH for 0.333 ETH, and you get your $1,000, which is also a taxable event in some countries. So they're going to tax you on that $1,000 gain, but you pay your bill, and then tomorrow ETH is $4,000. That same 0.333 ETH is now worth $1,332. So you lost the potential of making $332. So a lot of people like to lend it out, which is non-taxable, and then have the potential of what their token can do. It could be Bitcoin or whatever token you want. If you think it's going to go up and you don't want to sell it, but you want to use it for something, then lending is the way to go. Also, again, you want to do something more than just hold and hope that it goes up. People buy ETH and they just hold on to it. They eventually hope it's going to go up, and then it does nothing. Maybe it does go up in value, but you could be doing so much more. You want to make your money work. So that's just another option of lending and borrowing. So let's go into the details of what it is to short a token and what does that even mean. So for simplicity, we're going to make ETH equal $100, and everybody knows DAI is $1. So we're going to deposit in Aave, and I'll show you. We're going to deposit 100 DAI, and we're going to borrow 50% of our value in ETH. So in my wallet, I'm going to have a deposit of 100 DAI, and we're going to borrow 0.5 ETH. Okay, so now in my wallet, in my MetaMask wallet, that'll have them in the corner, I'm going to have 5.5 ETH on there. So then I'm going to use HoneySwap. It's a platform for a decentralized exchange, and I'm going to sell that Ethereum for 50 DAI because I believe Ethereum is going to go down in value. So now I have a cash value of $50 of my original borrow. So now I'm a genius. 2 minutes later, ETH now drops down to $50. So I'm going to use that 50 DAI in my wallet to buy back the ETH, but now because it's $50, I can buy one full ETH. So now in my wallet, I have 1 ETH. So with this 1 ETH, now I can pay back my loan of 0.5 ETH, and I have a profit of 0.5 ETH. Again, this is a theoretical situation, but I have a successful short. On the other side of the spectrum, you can do a long, and this is what I like to do a lot. I like to long. I believe crypto is going to go up overall in potential, so I kind of want to hold. So instead of depositing money or dollars, I'm going to put my token in. So we're going to use that same example. ETH is 100, DAI is $1. We're going to deposit 1 DAI. I think I had this backwards. Anyways, we're going to deposit 1 ETH. I'm going to change this later, but 1 ETH, and we're going to borrow 50 DAI. So 50% of the value of my Ethereum at $100. And then, so my wallet's going to have $50, 50 DAI. Then I'm going to go to HoneySwap and then sell that 50 DAI for 0.5 ETH. So now I have a little bit more Ethereum. So now I'm a genius again, and Ethereum increases in value. So now ETH is doubled in price, and now it's $200. So I'm going to go ahead and sell my Ethereum for dollars again, or DAI. And now I'm going to have $100 or DAI. And so now I can pay back that $50 DAI and then I have a profit of 50 DAI. So now I've made money on there by longing it. I bought more Ethereum and I held it and it went up in value and I sold it. And so that's pretty much shorting and longing a token. But there's other things that you can do with that money, and I think that you can long. So I'm not using any examples of actual market rates, but let's just take a quick look at Agave really quick. I hope I'm saying that right. Agave, whichever. So looking at the markets, the interest rates are not really that great for depositing. But when you look at other scopes, and you're like, hey, there's no incentives or anything. When I'm borrowing and the techniques I like to do in the long, incentives aren't really that great. I mean, I can borrow xDai or USDC for just about 2%, 3%. If I'm looking at Aave, I mean, the rates for borrows are not that great either. Even with the incentives, I'm paying a higher percentage rate overall. So it's not always as great as it sounds to be. There's bigger numbers, but in the end, I'm paying more, even though I'm getting rewarded. So it really depends on your aspect of it. But I like to have a lower overhead so I can do more with my dollars. So since liquidity is not really super high, I'm dealing with better numbers to take more advantage of that situation. But let's say, I'm going to borrow some xDai, put some stuff in, I borrow some xDai. I can buy Agave and I can stake. So let's say I'm using DAI. Let's say it's 3% right off the top. I can stake here and I can buy Agave and I can make 13% here. So technically I'm getting a 10% increase on what I'm doing. And then, as long as the price stays the same, I'm going to make 10%. And just looking at Agave in general, I mean, it's a pretty stable. I mean, it's had its issues with delays and everything, but it has a lot of potential to go up. I mean, a small market cap of just under 5 million, it has a lot of potential to go up. So even when I'm doing a stake and then it goes up, I'm making even more money or more percentage in essence. And then I can, either flip that or pay that back or write it out as long as I want, as long as my my loan to value ratio doesn't go crazy, and I'll cover that in a little bit. And there's a couple other things too. Let me go into the OneHive wallet here. Sorry, I should have had that ready. Look at me, I'm so foolish. I could just click farms on the Honey here. But I'll go ahead and provide links on the bottom. But just looking at the farms that they have for opportunities, you can see that there's a pretty decent. So if I borrowed that USDC and xDai, putting the reward on here would not benefit me at all because I'd only be making 1%, and then borrowing on that market, I'd be losing percentage because I'd be owing more than I'm making. But if you want to get more aggressive and you're a little bit, and you think there's value in it, XCOM with xDai, you put a liquidity pair, you can make 83%. And then if you stake it, get rid of that Brave ad. If you stake it and you lock it in for a few months, you can make potentially 50% more. So you make like 100% up on there. So that, it just depends on how far you're willing to risk and how long you believe in the token. If you're long on these tokens and you think they're going to go up in value eventually, then it's the smarter move than to sell them or short them or whatever you want to do. But you're actively making money on there. So I just wanted to give you different options or different strategies or different what you can do in the xDai OneHive system. There's quite a few other locations. There's Curve, I think Lennon Swap or something like that. There's all kinds of stuff on there. So let's get into the bread and butter and actually deposit something in here. So I'm going to go and deposit some Ethereum. So I happened to swap it a little bit earlier and I did it for $100, and look at me, I longed it and now I got 32 cents. But let's go ahead and deposit that. We're going to go ahead and max that out. So we're going to go ahead and continue. We're going to go ahead and approve it. Wait for that confirmation. Eventually, there we go. And we're going to go ahead and deposit. It's a two-step process. You have to approve and then deposit. The suspense. All right, and now it's done. So if we finish, it's going to take us to the dashboard. Now I had borrowed a few before just to test a few things out, so probably like a little bug that shows, but I have nothing borrowed, as you can tell. There's nothing on there, but you'll see that I have a deposit on here. And yeah, so now I have $100 worth of ETH, it's going to give me an approximate balance. There we go. It's needed a refresh. So I had that deposited on there. So now let's do something with it. So I want to borrow something. So let's go into the borrow section. And we can borrow. And there's a little bit of a bug on this, but it doesn't matter for us and our purposes anyway. But let's go ahead and borrow some USDC. It has a lower rate. Let's do it. All right, and so you can borrow up to 80% of your value. So theoretically, it should be $80, but for right now, it's at 70. But to be safe, and we're going to talk about that, I always borrow no more than 50% of my token. And it's because you deal with these random drops in value. And if it drops too fast, you could get liquidated. And I'm going to cover that in a little bit. But for now, we're just going to do $50, which is about 50% of my value. You're going to see the health factor. The more you borrow, the lower the number. Once you get to 1, if I get to 80, once you get to 1, you get liquidated. So you want to have a little bit of a cushion for there. So we're going to go ahead and borrow that. We're going to approve it. Usually it's a little bit quicker, but there might be some stuff going on the network. And then we're going to go ahead and borrow it. I think. 1 second, there we go. And then, well, my borrow of 0.005 was successful. Let's go ahead and check that. There we go. It's probably a little visual bug. But let's check my wallet. And there we go. I've got 50 USDC. All right, so now, again, we were talking about those different strategies of longing a token and buying certain things, but for purposes, I think I want to stake Agave. I want to take this 2% and then, throw it in here and make 13%. So let's go over to the Honey Swap. And for testing purposes right now, this is not my main wallet, so I'm just going to do a quick little one here. I'm going to get USDC. And I'm going to buy some Agave. Gosh, I hope I'm saying that right. Through 10. And I like HoneySwap because it actually checks all the local dexes to see which is going to give you the best deal. I tend to really go with HoneySwap in general. It's a difference of a few cents, but it helps the organization out a bit. Really saving a couple cents. But if you do some really big transfers, you want to go with the best deal. So that's confirmed. We have to approve the token, and then we're going to swap it. Once it's ready, and go ahead and swap. And complete. Now if I check, I should have a little bit of Agave. There we go. And for the sake of staking in this tutorial, I did it on a big wallet, but I'm just going to go ahead and just transfer that over to my primary location because it does have a lock for a few days. So give me just a second while I transfer that over. And then I'll handle it on the other account. I just didn't want you to deal with all the ledger approvals and things like that. Alright, let me just switch that account really quick. Alright, and I'm going to go to Agave interface. Now, here we go. So now I am in the stake portion of it, just in case if you go to the dashboard, you can always go to your stake. And then we're going to go ahead and deposit the maximum of our Agave. And from there, I'm going to get my 13% of whatever I get. Just an FYI, there is a cooldown period of 10 days. So if I deposit, I'm going to have to activate the cooldown. It's going to take 10 days for me to pull that out. And I have 2 days to do so. Otherwise, the cooldown window starts over again. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm that. And this is, you'll see this window for a hardware wallet. Right now I'm using MetaMask. For hardware wallets, I really do suggest Frame. Frame's a little bit better, a little bit more responsive. But I'm not going to get into that in this tutorial. We're going to keep it simple. And then we're going to go ahead and deposit it. It's always approved, then deposit. Excellent. Okay, and just for the sake of it, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my other wallet just to show. All right, and then we're going to look at our dashboard. So again, we deposited $100 of ETH. We borrowed 50 USDC. I already owe 3 cents on it for some reason. And I used that money to buy agave, and then I staked it. So now technically I'm making 13% on that, but I still owe, 2.4 or 2.04% APR, whatever that is a day, and it's going to accumulate. And so what does that mean with my health factor? I had a hard time with that, thinking like, well, it doesn't really help me because I don't know when my health factor goes down. What if I'm sleeping? What if things happen? So I found this little calculator here, a compound calculator, that will tell me the exact price, or at least the general idea of the price of where I'm going to go out. So if I supplied, half an ETH and I borrowed 1,000, my liquidation, so 1.7 would be my ratio. My loan will get liquidated if the price hit 266. If I borrowed 500, obviously my liquidation price is going to be way lower. So depending on where you go. So if someone that goes to the extreme and does 2,000, my current, like, it's really close. We're under collateralized. We've already been liquidated. So you don't want to extreme it because the prices go up and down. And just looking at the Ethereum, just yesterday we had that same issue where it just did a quick crash, quick dip. People got liquidated and came back. You want to protect yourself from that in general. Anyways, I don't want to make this too long than it already is. We covered a lot. I just wanted to show the Agave platform, and incentives aren't everything. Sometimes you take advantage of the low interest rates too, and then incentives could come. And if they do, then even better, because you're already invested in the platform. Depending on the way you want to invest, it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. If you want to short ETH, then it doesn't really make sense, but if you want to long it, it does. Anyways, this is for friends and family. I'm tired of repeating myself, so I figured I'd make a video. All right, have a good one, guys. Out. Hey guys, real quick edit. As I was finishing up and repaying back my loan, I figured I should show you how to repay back your loan. So if you go back into the dashboard, I paid some of it off, but I figured I'd save the last 10. All you have to do is click on repay. You have to make sure you pay your amount, max amount. It wasn't 11 cents or 3 cents. It was just tiny amount. So I'm going to go ahead and continue that. Go ahead and approve. We're going to wait for that to go. And then we're going to repay that loan. And see, you'll notice, just in case, a quick note is that health factor is like super high now because I only have 10 bucks borrowed. And we are now repaid, and our health factor is like crazy high. Let me go ahead and refresh that page. Sometimes it takes a minute to refresh, and nothing is borrowed. We are free to take out our money. We can withdraw our ETH if we want to. We can leave it to build interest, whatever we want. I'm just going to go ahead and take it out because I'm going to put it back on my main wallet. But you guys get the idea. That's all. I just wanted to show you that, how to come in and get out ultimately. All right, now I'm out.